Okay, hopefully you can hear us now. No longer
Podcast.
muted.
It's live.
Podcast. It's podcast day. This is episode 12 of the Cloud Underground podcast. And I'm here today with Nato. Thanks for joining me, Nato.
We're
And
here.
we're here to talk about automate boring things because automate boring things. It's the full program is available now. It's been kind of in the pre-order stages, but we are still offering it at the pre-order price for a couple more days. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. And if you're interested in automate boring things, there's a link in the description of this video. You can go check it out and learn more about it. And we're going to talk about it too.
It's happening.
$500 off right now. So go get it now while it's still at the pre-order price.
Fastest way to start a new CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah,
DevSecOps.
absolutely. So maybe we start with that. So
Well,
tell me
maybe most interesting way.
the most interesting way. Yes. So I thought can I just interview you a little bit about automate boring
Yeah,
things?
yeah.
Okay.
So I created the model and wrote the resources.
Yes, and when you get into the course, you'll see Nato's lovely face here in the videos.
or not so lovely. Oh.
I think it's lovely. Anyway, so tell me about where did automate boring things come from? Where did this whole idea originate?
So over the many years, there are certain things that I do over and over and over again for tons of businesses. And then there are lots of companies that have a lot of manual processes that, like oftentimes it would be my job to go and start building automations for processes that people would do. So in some cases, it would be universities that I've done this for, or like military entities, a lot of aerospace entities like power plants, power grids, things like that. You could.
Oh, sorry. Making sure our stream is working, and it is. I'm muting.
Okay. So yeah. Anyways, but there are just certain things that at business you do the same thing like over and over again. And anyone who's built a business, if you're thinking about like regulatory compliance or security checks or anything that's like routine. So if you're pen testing, there are things that you have to go look at yourself, but there are also certain things that like if you do enough pen tests, you start saving like your own code and things like that. You're like, I run this test all the time. And so then it's easier to just automate a lot of things. So if you've ever heard of DevSecOps, DevSecOps is a philosophy around development. And the concept of DevSecOps versus, say, if you've ever heard of DevOps, is this idea of shifting left, which what shift left means is kind of adding security at the beginning of the development process and baking it into the development process.
Developing with security in mind from the beginning, from the get-go, instead of developing and then going back and trying to figure out where the bugs are and securing them.
Yeah, and a lot of it is when I first started working with more like DevSecOps models, where I'm like, okay, well, I do these pen tests all the time, so I'm going to just start like automating my vulnerability scans. And if you've ever heard of a thing called like Snike or Auto DevOps with GitLab, where you can set up what are called SAST or DAST scans, if you go look in those configurations, crazy. Boring things, hey. But yeah, if you're trying to do like vulnerability scans, or if I'm trying to do those things, I just got to this point where I don't want to keep doing these same mundane tasks forever, over and over again. And because it's not just maybe you know how to do it, but then it's like, well, now it's your time. Now you got all these other things, and then other tasks start stacking on top of other responsibilities. And then some of the other things that I started doing is we used to have to, at any company that we work with, or that I used to work with in general, you have to test everything. And so I'd come with things like also protecting healthcare information and all of this stuff. And so then like hospitals run into these things where they, sometimes start running into having trouble affording the ability to protect their PII or PHI, just like personal health information is what that is. And the information that keeps your health information safe. Oftentimes we see all these breaches and things like that. And while breaches can be somewhat inevitable when you're on the internet, if you get targeted, there's going to be someone who makes some human error thing. Someone's going to accidentally like click a phishing link. And the bigger the company you are, imagine if you have 10,000 workers And if you didn't know this, 90%, a little over 90% of like cyber attacks and threats start with phishing, just like emails. If you click like the wrong email link,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have like a company of like 10,000 people, you just have to have like the right
One
folks
person. You
clicking
only
on
need
the
one
wrong link.
person who forgets their cybersecurity training that day and clicks on the link,
Yeah.
or thinks they're getting a real offer or whatever. It only
Yeah.
takes one person.
So even if you have done like all of the things right, it's really important to understand that as a company grows, you have all these other things that when you incur a breach, it's going to take up time. The audits, they take up time. Preparing for the audits, it takes up time. It's wildly boring. And so what we ended up doing is packaging like all of our automations over the many years and things that uh, I know that companies need to meet like NIST requirements or HIPAA requirements, PCI requirements, or run a company. And maybe you don't need to meet all those requirements. So if it's overkill, hey, it's still just a copy paste to like build a little data center from all of these automations. So you still get security benefits with some of the things and approaches that we propose. And so there's a tool called the Underground Nexus that we built that it's nothing more than like a what's called a hyper converged data center. We call it a copy paste data center, and others might refer to that architecture as a software factory if you're government or military. Software factory is the architecture that you'll hear as well. But just making a tool, tools don't really have much value. That some people will argue with me on that, but there's also saying like you can't sell features, you sell outcomes, and so like okay, cool, this thing has this feature, this thing has these other features, but what do people really want? They just you want your company to run, and you want to lower risk, and automation helps make it to where like oh, let's lower human error, risk of human error. Let's lower this risk over there. Let's lower that risk, and let's also get our time back, right? So if something takes 2 years, we spent 2 years building all of our general configurations. So you can basically have 2 years worth of data center configurations just in a day or less that you can just use as a template instead of spending all that time. And then automate boring things is our framework around how you can just continue to automate more boring things out of your day. And maybe it's not stuff that's not necessarily boring. It could just be stuff like if you're running a company, like burnout is terrible. Burnout is a dangerous thing. Actually, honestly, burnout will kill companies. And that's just true. If your workers burn out, then you're not getting your output for the like mandatory systems your business depends on if everyone's getting burnt out. If you're the leadership and the holder of the vision and you burn out, then there goes your vision. If you burn out for too long, the company's just going to go under.
Well, I think this helps transit. This is a great way to transition into my next question, which is talk a little bit about who automate boring things is for and who's going to get the most benefit out of it.
Yes, automate boring things is for anyone who needs a DevSecOps pipeline for your supply chain to basically be able to spend more time with your customers and delivering your services and spend less time with your technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about trying to be more like customer focused, more focused on like the audience you wish to serve and the solutions and the outcomes that you wish to have more control over your outcomes by just chopping off the technical bits as much as humanly possible. So if you have technical things or boring things to do or compliance configurations that you have to do, it's for people who are either trying to learn how to do this for a company and you want to go work in the company, but really it's especially for, say, businesses who need a running supply chain that's secure and also very easy to manage so that, once again, lower that maximum risk for your customers and for your workers and for yourself and get your time back. So if you're running a
Yes.
company and you're starting a new initiative and you need a new CI CD pipeline or a new DevSecOps pipeline, it could be for you. If you don't know what DevSecOps is, but you've been wanting to learn more about it and get into it even for your business, and you want to kind of move your business into the DevSecOps path, then it could be for you. Because automate boring things is a roll your own experience where what that means is by going through automate boring things, you build yourself your very own DevSecOps CI CD pipeline powered by GitLab. And then we provide workflows in the form of role plays as a way to test, learn with, and also benchmark your new CI/CD pipeline. That once you've gone through all of these workflows and exercises, then you will know basically enough to just go and run with these resources on your own to run your company, and you'll understand how can you better streamline your business. Or if you're just an individual who wants to start a business, that works too. So anyone who wants DevSecOps CI/CD pipelines.
Amazing. Another thing I wanted to say too is like you're talking about burnout, and I think another person who this might be really helpful for is if you're like a solopreneur, because you want to be able to like streamline your process as much as possible, automate as much of it as possible, so that if you're one person doing the work, then you can certainly build a CI/CD pipeline by yourself. We've have students who have done it and who have done it quite successfully, who are actively like monetizing businesses and get taking on clients right now. So it's like it definitely can work kind of for, I think, different sizes of companies as well. If you're a solopreneur just starting out, if you're a small team, maybe you're a startup and you've hired a bunch of people, like this is also like a great way for you to get your team on board as well.
Definitely. And, if you're not spending all that time with all of your configurations, I think one thing I do want to say is the purpose of it is not to say that, like, oh, if you like doing the technical configurations, oh, but what if you like doing that? It's not saying that we're trying to take that away from anyone. But really, when you're learning technology, going through a bunch of manual configurations is rather low risk because you don't have like clients to serve and customer service to like manage and all that good stuff. So really, it just kind of comes down to it's important to be able to work on your business and be able to go and make sure everything's working well. And when you have just like too many things, your business can't really grow as fast, efficiently, or effectively if you're spending all your time in your configurations, because it does take everyone in your company, whoever's dealing with those configurations, that money and that financial investment is not necessarily even going into your customer experience. All of that time is just going into your tools. So we just want to help people spend more time like with their clients. And
Absolutely. And I think that's going off of that, piggybacking off of that, I think that's another reason why, the Underground Nexus is so great, because it's basically like 2 years of like tooling done for you, ready out of the box. Right.
oh yeah, yeah, it's
So,
you could go and everything that the Underground Nexus is actually really more of a template anyways. So it's important to know that anything that it does, it can be customized to whatever you want. So like in some cases, someone might be like, well, I hate GitLab. Great, you don't have to use it. You can still use, say, like the Underground Nexus, and you can still use all of these configurations that might have nothing to do with GitLab, but just it's still 2 years of data center configurations that if you do have, like, if you're going to be taking more than like say like 5 customers a year, it's going to start to probably more than 50 at least, especially. But anyone who's trying to build a big business that's growing,
and
like if you're taking
scalable.
100 customers, you're taking 200 customers, maybe you're taking 500 customers. Uh, if anyone wonders how companies like OpenAI can work with so many customers, I don't know if anyone's ever gone over heard of ChatGPT. It's so popular right now that even though they have to scale so aggressively to like barely keep up with like the user demand, you'll go on and try to use ChatGPT, and every now and then it'll be
It's
so
too
busy that
full. You can't work. You
it's
can't
too
use it.
busy,
Yeah.
it's crashing. But then how do they even make it so that it's not always like that? Because they have to keep up with aggressive, never-ending, relentless scale. So, like, let's talk about how ChatGPT does it. I'll actually tell you from a technical standpoint for you nerds out there at the highest level possible. ChatGPT, the two core things that it relies on are Kubernetes and etcd for scaling, and ChatGPT can scale using their general format and model, which you can actually find on their website for OpenAI to see what that looks like. And you can see that they can scale to 7,500 nodes. But be mindful that they don't have people manually scaling those nodes. to make sure that all of the customers who are using ChatGPT are receiving their services. And if ChatGPT isn't scaling, then they have to go panic more and spend more time. The less automation that ChatGPT has, the fewer people they reach, the more money they need for affording labor, and then they're already spending billions of dollars, and that's with significant automation.
Right.
So even having some of the world's best automation on the planet can still cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. Just imagine what happens without that automation, and why can't you get to that level of scale if you aren't automating as much as you humanly can? So we like scale and helping people get to scale.
And automation.
Live your life.
Yeah.
Still produce outcomes. Avoid burnout and you'll get more productivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Let your systems do the work for you so that you can do more work for yourself and spend more time on the things that you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Instead of the boring things.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Let your systems do the heavy lifting for you. You still have to go in there and do things. You still have to
and you still have to create
and
the system. You still have to create the automation in the first place. But once you've done it, it's there and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's right. And then with Automate Boring Things, we will also soon be announcing additional services. So for people who don't want to just roll a pipeline like a DevSecOps CI/CD pipeline all by yourself, we will soon be coming up with ways that you can sign up and receive help with someone who will come and help do that with you and for you so that you don't have to do the technical. Maybe you're a person who is a vision holder and you're not the engineer. Well, if you're the vision holder, trying to be the engineer and the vision holder, if burnout destroys visions, we're here to help protect your vision. And we're going to come up with services and managed services and things like that so that we can help take some of that off of you so that you can just focus on your vision as well.
Absolutely.
We'll take the boring things away from you. But for now, we have the Automate Boring Things. How do I describe it? It's a roll your own experience package that kind of helps you like roll your own pipeline for whatever your vision is for. And we call it roll your own experience partly because some of you might like, what is the experience you're pursuing? Perhaps you're pursuing customers, or perhaps you're pursuing a job, which is why we also called it choose your own path. And so once you have a running configured CI/CD pipeline that you own and manage for yourself, you get to choose how you want to use that supply chain. And yeah, it's going to be there for you. And it's one source of truth, and you can just automate as much as you need to from that one source of truth.
Definitely. Cool. Well, there you go. Automate Boring Things. It's again, you can find a link to it and to the free companion Drop Squad Survival Guide business model. You can find links to all of those things below and learn more about Automate Boring Things.
Yeah.
And go check it out. It's $500 off now and tomorrow. Through tomorrow.
Get it before the price goes up.
So do it now.
And then, more things on the way.
More things on the way. We'll have more announcements coming up.
More Automate Boring Things.
In coming weeks. It's kind of a different podcast episode, a little different format than what I usually do, but I'm feeling out the podcast thing. I'm trying to figure out like what works and what I like doing and how the format's going to go. So we're experimenting, but definitely wanted to let everyone know about Automate Boring Things and about, where it came from, who needs it, why do you care?
Don't burn out.
Don't burn out. That's what you care.
And in the time of layoffs, it's important to also protect your income. So anyone needing to know how to build side incomes, that's a thing too. So thank you for watching. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you have any thoughts or comments or topics you want us to discuss during future podcast episodes, definitely leave us a comment and we will do that. All right. Well, thanks everyone.